Welcome to the Scent of Beauty. My name is Susan, and I want to talk about dichotomy. I was thinking about as you know, my channel. It's called Scent of Beauty. We talk about the psychological, chemical sense of our psyche, our pheromones. But what about if we never had a scent? There are detergents, right, that it says no scent. There are soaps, not just detergents. Um, but you know what I mean. There are soaps that it's clearly state on the label unscented, and so that got me thinking. That got me thinking about a dichotomy. So when there is fragrance free psychologically. And so dichotomy is a division or contrast between two things that are or are represented as being opposed or entirely different. So separate. And so I thought about theory and actual practice. And so often, there is a theory that I believe in, or that at least I speak, I talk about it, but then there is my actual belief, which is found in my practice. Talk about a dichotomy. And I'm not talking about compartmentalizing. I'm literally talking about a theory that I tell myself, a story that I literally believe to be a truth, but my action is contrary to the theory, but I have written a whole RNA, which I spoke about that in motivation. I have taken the message in my DNA. Now, I subscribed it in RNA form, but I have interjected other letters to formulate, to construct a message, and I call it my own psychological pig Latin. And it's a theory that I can read, I understand it, I acknowledge it, and I comprehend it. So it makes sense to me. And what makes sense to me, what I could surmise in theory, how could I or someone else point out another way of thinking when that's my thought process? It's been in my encoded in my sense of reasoning. I think when there is an unscented psyche, it usually stems from living in a world of contradictions, and an individual is forced into creating a surreal world. In this surreal world, in this world of surrealism, there is some magical thought processes along with reality, along with other ideas, and it's almost like a gumbo uh, theory that one is forced to create in order to deal with combat the contradictory that they are facing or they had faced at some point in their lives. Usually the theory is created to present as a presentation of being special, presenting a pseudo self in the midst of the contradiction, who doesn't want to be the one to stand out. It's like presenting myself as I'm the swan in the sea of ducklings in the contradictory world, as to offset my inability to formulate reasoning, why the chaos of contradictions are happening. And usually this starts at a very young age. I keep on saying it, and it's because it's a belief that our psyche is so beautiful, so vulnerable, that it has to construct ways to protect itself. And this, dichotomy that I'm discussing and constructed world of theory is my way of making sense in the world, in my world. The issue arises when our psyche is unscented. It's almost worse to be unscented than have a scent that doesn't protrude beautiful fragrances. And the reason why I say that, it's because it's almost losing our psychological being into a world, into an abyss. And we never get to create our true essence and get to release those pheromones, because the world that was created and for us, or that we chose to live in, many times from ignorance, requires the theory that is opposed to our practices. So living in a surreal world, it doesn't produce a scent. It actually is odorless. And so often we want to present a special self, when in actuality, the belief that motivates our practice shows how often we hide out in these surreal world of pretense, of fantasy, instead of our actual self, which release our pheromones. So it's living contradictory, trying to get out of contradictions, but that's what we're creating. So it's almost like countering. It's a counter construct. We would first have to wake up to the truth that I am unique, that I am in a contradiction, and instead of getting these surreal images, coming up with these theories, get into the mindset that is the truth, that I am unique, that I have my essence, I don't have to build and construct a special self. That is, for me, I found the first stage of moving away from the dichotomy. The next phase that I had to realize is that the belief that I practice is the actual reality that I was living in that moment. And it was based on the contradiction that I world that I was living in, contradictory world to my temperament, my personality, my aura. And so I had to own that. And once I did that, my chemical reaction started to change. Those messages that that I wrote with my RNA, um, those started to change based on honesty, based on acceptance, based on care, based on kindness, thoughtfulness. Hence, here comes the scent of beauty, because my authenticity started to come alive, have room to grow, have room to develop. So, dichotomy, it's very interesting in regards to living in a world of two realities. But it's not even cognitive dissonance, it's the theory that I wholeheartedly believed, and the practice that I so wholeheartedly um, was unconscious to. When those two worlds collided, that gave me an opportunity to um, it gave me an opportunity to move into what we are doing right now, is to take a look at not my face, not, our physical presence, but to take a look, a wholehearted look at the scent of our psyche, the scent of our pheromone, and see how beautiful we are in essence. And so I'm so grateful for this opportunity to talk about dichotomy. How have you lived your life? How have dichotomy changed your life? And do you desire to live with authenticity versus surrealism? Thank you.